guys, that's your Comanche Day Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Glad to have you all here with me today. What could be better? What could be better talking some raid with you guys today? Hey, we're going to talk about 10 absolutely incredibly underrated, criminally underrated champions inside this game.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We're going to include some rares, some epics, and some legendaries in today's video. Not quite there with the mythicals. I feel like mythicals, I mean, first of all, it takes a long time to fully understand and grasp what they bring to the table because they do so much. And B, I know, talking about a mythical for 10 minutes seems like a waste of time because probably 0.1% of you guys or less than that actually have them. But suffice it to say, I actually think there are some decently underrated mythicals. Even the trashiest of trash are actually some of them not that bad at all. Primarily just because, again, they do so much in one kit, having, 4 or 5 active abilities or more. Anyway, I digress. Let's jump into it here, guys. Unvault these champions, starting with my man, the Smoke Monster. It is Holstring himself. Holstring, dude, this dude is legit now.
What do you mean?
Well, he's always been legit. He's actually gotten a few buffs over the years. I want to say 2 or 3 buffs, but most recently, just last month at the time of this recording, he's now, well, better than ever, right? He's a massive single target damage dealer. And the knock on Holstring used to be everything was random. Let me show you, thanks to yumilove.net. You can see the entire kind of last patch notes. His skill change on his A1 went from 2 times at random to attack 1 enemy of your choosing at times. Now, we also added a bunch of other stuff, right? Each has a 50% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 15% with the increased attack. On the skill 2, it used to be 3 times at random. Now it's 1 enemy 3 times. If the target's under Hex, we'll ignore 25% of the target's defense. We'll ignore a further 25% of the target's defense. If they're also under decreased speed, we'll also ignore another 25% of the target's defense if they're from Bannerlords or Knights Revenant factions. So, man, they gave him a pretty dang big buff.
After this, I'll fall in love with myself.
And they changed. They added a decreased speed for 2 turns to his A3, and he's always placing a perfect veil on himself. They also changed his passive. The old version, if he attacks 2 targets under Hex in the same turn, places a perfect veil on himself. New version, if the champion attacks the target under Hex debuff and a decreased speed, places a perfect veil on the champion for 1 turn. It will not activate when counterattacking. Also increases the champion's crit damage by 30% when attacking under a perfect veil buff, which he has quite often. So I just read his entire kit to you guys. I don't need to read it again. I love that he brings his own increased attack. He's all about veils and perfect veils to protect himself. He is kind of squishy. And then he's got the triple hitter, a double hitter, and a quad hitter. He's bringing the decreased speed. He's ignoring a ton of defense. He smacks guys. Pick up Giant Slayer on top of all of that, and you just got yourself an amazing, one of the top-notch single target damage dealers out there. He has a lot of synergy also already with Hex. You put him on a Hex team, even in areas like Hydra, where you would never think of Holstring on Hydra. Keep in mind that Hex is going to have that 10% damage kind of share, so it makes single target nukers a lot more viable than they used to be. That is Holstring. Go ahead and try him out, guys, and let me know what you think. He's a really, really solid champion now after his numerous buffs inside the game. Number 2, this is a big one. This is actually the champion that I wanted to talk about most out of every champion in this video. It's Gwendolin the Silent, the owl. Never sleep on the owl, man. She is good. She looks freaking cool. I have something about the owl. I just love everything about Gwendolin the Silent, except for maybe the base HP. A little squishy, but she's an owl. What do you expect? First of all, I just want to focus on her A1. I've said this before, but we drooled over Vizier Ozvelis for years and years and years in this game, right? Now, granted, his use case has been mitigated somewhat throughout the years. Still a pretty good champion, but his A1 is exactly the same. I could show you it, but it's exactly the same as Gwendolin the Silence. Triple hitter, each has a 50% chance to extend the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn, right? So she's got the best part, arguably, about Vizier's kit, just standard on her A1, and it only gets better from there. On the A2, an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown with an AoE, decreased speed, and a leech. Decreased accuracy on enemies under 2 or more debuffs. So we get 3 incredibly valuable and somewhat hard to find debuffs, all in the same 3-turn cooldown ability. Oof, so good for anywhere in wave content, but especially for Hydra. On the A3 ability, another 3-turn cooldown, another AoE attack. Now she's bringing her own increased accuracy, not just for the owl, but for all allies. Dude, her kit is busted. Plays a block debuffs buff on all enemies. Stealing block debuffs from all enemies. My bad. I'm like, placing block debuffs would be kind of awkward there, Ash. Come on, man. Get your head in the game, dude. Get your head in the game. If at least one block debuffs buff was stolen from an enemy, places a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. Well, there you go. Okay, so that's a little niche, a little whatever. You know, not bad for wave content, or if you want to give her a spin in the arena or something like against a Duchess team or a Siphi team or something like that. But still, decent damage, increased accuracy, all these debuffs, and then this champion's crit damage increases by 1% for every 10 points of accuracy they have. Grants an extra turn after this champion uses any 3 skills. So she's got a little built-in lifesteal as well. Man, people sleep on the owl so much. Accuracy in all battles by 60. She's really good. She's really unique. She's really special. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Can you tell? Can you tell how much I love the owl? Oh man, I made the big mistake of talking smack about this dude back in the day when he was a fusion, and boy was I wrong, ladies and gentlemen, on Timit the Fool. What was I thinking? You ever do that? You ever look back at a champion that you kind of misjudged or judged incorrectly when they came out to the game? Man, I got a lot of champions right, and I got one wrong. I was just underwhelmed by Timit. I was like, yeah, he seems all right, but you really need Kaja, you know, with him to get the full effect, and I was turned off. Sometimes I feel like we make that mistake. If they're a companion champion, we immediately get turned off focusing on what we don't have, the other part of the tandem, whereas we can neglect what they actually already bring to the table, and that's definitely the case in Timit the Fool. On his A1, he's got a little heal, not bad. On the A2, an AoE attack, right? Decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 3 turns. This is polymorph proof, right? If there are no enemies with active buffs, grants an extra turn. We just decrease the duration of all their buffs by 3 turns. 80% of the time, there's not going to be enemies with active buffs, right? I mean, so we're going to get an extra turn. That's amazing. Always grants an extra turn if Kaja's on the same team. And so then we go into the A3 ability, an AoE attack that actually hits super hard with an increased accuracy on all allies before attacking, and then a true fear on all enemies. Dude, so amazing control. A debuff stripper, we don't have to worry about the polymorph, right? Oh, he's really cool. Whenever an enemy successfully activates while they're under, whenever an enemy skill successfully activates while they're under a fear or true fear, which he brings on the A3, it fills his turn meter by 10%. Whenever an enemy skill does not activate because they're under a fear or true fear, place a provoke on the enemy for 1 turn. This particular effect only applies when Kaja the Rise on the same team. So yeah, that's busted too if Kaja's on the same team. But overall, you're looking at a lot of damage, back-to-back AoE attacks. We've got control, we've got strips, we've got, what do you want, man? Timit the Fool is he's no fool. Everybody plays the fool. He's exceptionally good. Let's talk about an epic here, guys. I've mentioned this guy before, but just like Tagore, by the way, we're not gonna put Tagore on the list because everybody knows now. I've seen 4 other CCs now make videos about Tagore. I think that we did our job. You guys, primarily, you guys in the comments of other CC videos saying, dude, what about Tagore? What about Tagore? What about Tagore? It's catching on. It's catching on. Nice work, guys.
I'm pretty hard to ignore.
My next epic target that I think is criminally undervalued, meaning he's not appearing in any top 20, top 30 lists anywhere, it's Scaris. Dude, this guy is busted, man. He's really one of the top epics out there. I really mean that. Very unique, very good. He's got an AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. I'm gonna start with the A3. He also brings a counterattack and a continuous heal on himself for 2 turns. So nice healing, continuous heal times 2 turns, and the counterattack. So what does the counterattack do? It leads him into this A1. What does his A1 do? It attacks one enemy with a 90% chance of stealing 15% of the target's turn meter, okay? 30% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by this skill. So what this allows us to do is land the provoke vis-a-vis the A3, put the counterattack on him, and then when a provoked target attacks him, They have no turn meter, only a tiny bit. He steals it on the counterattack, and then it's going to be fully depleted because they just went. They're provoked. And then you have a shot at stunning them on top of that, right? So like control on top of steal on top of more control. On his A2, effortless superiority. This is a really good AoE attack. 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies. Decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. Again, polymorph proof. It also has a 75% chance to place the big version of decrease attack for 2 turns. And then fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each buff that had its duration decreased. I've said this before, but I really underestimated how powerful that last sentence is in his kit when dealing especially with wave content. Now, he actually hits freaking hard too, because why not, right? So he's hitting hard, he's controlling, he's healing, he's doing so much, but also placing the decrease attack, decreasing the enemy duration buffs, and on the turn meter fill. I mean, think about it this way. You go against like a Siffy team, whatever. Nowadays, buffs are so prevalent in this game that it's not that crazy to think that the enemies might have like 2 or 3 or 4 buffs, right? So each enemy times 4 or 5 enemies times 3 or 4 or 5 buffs, you can oftentimes just get 100% turn meter fill off of this A2, bringing you back to the A3 and so on and so forth. It's a great snowball effect. HP in all battles on the aura. Man, this dude is good. He is really good. He's my next to gore that I'm not going to stop until everybody makes a video about this dude. All right, next up, guys, is an oldie but a goodie, and I still have a download link for you guys for Rector Drath. I'm not just putting her in there because of the download link, but if you want to start a new account, I got a free copy of Tyrell, a free copy of Rector Drath on that account. I'll have a download link in the description below for you guys. By the way, I'm thinking about changing my little download link. I have a little bit of a say. I can put requests in for champions, but I think that Tyrell and Rector are the best 2 that I've ever been able to give away, so I've stuck with them for a long time. But like a Fane, I can get like a Grizzled Jarl, I can get like a, I don't know, name some mediocre epics, and I'll see if I can get them. Rector Drath, why is she so good? First of all, she's very fast. She's got a really solid revive with nice perfect veil, right? She's got this great healing passive, Master of Goats. She's really, not goats, but she is the goat. Ghosts. But she's really good. I mean, really good healing here. Like one of the better healers out there for epics in the game, right? But she also has perfect veil on a 4-turn cooldown. Perfect veil on a 4-turn cooldown, well, that is all perfect veil in the game. It's a 4-turn cooldown, so we can't ask for more. By the way, she brings the big version of decreased attack on the A1 too. But this, I think people underestimate or just don't realize how rare perfect veil is in this game. As a matter of fact, there's only 5 champions in the entire game who has perfect veil. That's it. Only 1 epic. You're looking at her, Rector Drath. Check it out. Duchess, Feral, Tatura, Truoth, Rector Drath. That's it. That's it. Kargan the Crowned is conditional or something like that. It's like it has to have less than 50% HP and yada, yada, yada. Dude, that's really good. It's very hard to find perfect veil. Perfect veil, of course, is going to mitigate 15% of AoE damage. It's great for Hydra, obviously, and it makes them not targeted by the A1. Moreover, unlike veil, perfect veil won't fall off when you use an ability. Rector is just really, really unique, and I think that she's still a bit underrated for everything that she brings to the table, especially how rare finding that perfect veil is. The only epic in the game that has it like that. All right, next up, guys, let's talk about a rare. These are 2. This might be. I might put these rares into the Ash retirement home after this video, right? Because I've been singing their praises for a while now, but I wanted to do it one last time, and then we'll pick a couple new rares to replace them. But man, Treeshield Knott, he's so freaking good. To me, he's a top 10 rare in the game, and it's not even close. What does this guy do real quick? Decrease attack on a triple hitter on the A1. Great for Fire Knight, areas like that. He's got a heal. He's got an increased defense, 3-turn cooldown. It's a small version of increased defense, but still, it's increased defense with the heal. He's got the 2 revival of allies, right? And again, might not sound like a big deal, but he's the only rare in the entire game that can revive more than 1 ally on a revive, right? We're talking about Gear Grinder, Reliquary Tender, Harrispex, champions like that. There's a few others, right? But Treeshield Knott has 2. Doesn't sound like much until you have 2 dead allies. Then you're like, yeah, I love you, Treeshield. Moreover, he comes in and heals and he increases defense. He's got speed and fashion crypts where he's great as well. He's got decent survivability for a rare. I really, really love Treeshield. And I don't want to pick on anybody here because I think I've said it a billion times before, but I'll say it again. I think the hellhades.com is by far the best resource for anything Raid Shadow Legends, but check it out, man. Here's all their rares ranked in order of, you know, how strong they are. Tier list. Dude, you're never going to see. Everybody hates Treeshield, right? Cold Heart, Renegade, Kale, Apothecary, Eris, War Maiden, Fellhound, Bellower, Marquess, Painkeeper, Reliquary, Soulbond, Coffin Smasher, Frozen Banshee, Turlock, Valerie, Spirit Host, Ironclad, Greybeard, Gnarlhorn, Doomscreech, Aethel, Paragon, Seducer. I could go on and on and on. They don't let, where the heck is he? Where the heck is he, guys? No one likes my man Treeshield. Well, I freaking do. I do. That's why he's still making these videos, guys. Hey, you know what other name? We might as well just talk about the other rare on the list. You know what other name? We're gonna put him in the retirement home after this, guys. But Kurzad Deepheart. Oh, I love this little orange-haired dwarf, man. He is, how many times I gotta say this, man? Again, this is a champion that you're not going to see on anybody's top 20, top 30 rare list. But I just don't, he's squishy. He's very squishy. There's no denying that. But just read along with me one last time, because then we're going to put him in the Tagore retirement home. Attack one enemy, extra hit if the attack is critical. The extra hit, which is hopefully always critical, he's void affinity. We're going to build him with 100% crit rate. Plays a decreased speed, big version for 2 turns. Decreased speed, big version, guaranteed land, basically, for 2 turns on a rare is extremely valuable. That's really good. Flailing Pick, 3-turn cooldown. I put him in a stun set because he has 2 3-turn cooldown AoE attacks, and there's so much content in the game, excuse me, Cursed City, Doom Tower, that you end up needing the stun locks, right? But each critical hit fills his champion's turn meter by 7.5%. Unless you're like in Spider, it's not going to be anything crazy dramatic, but it always helps, right? Getting like that 15 or 30% turn meter fill. On the A3, we get the big version increased accuracy on all allies. That's so hard to find, especially from a rare champion. So the big version increased accuracy on everybody. And then another AoE attack and the decreased defense. Now, you can, if you want to, pick up that new-ish blessing in the game, right? I forgot the name of it. Let me pull it up real quick. Ooh, that nut skin's got me a little tempted there, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Sorry I annoyed you with my friendship.
What is this blessing here? What is it called? You can pick this up, and then he can be, this guy can be, where is it? There it is. Here it is. Nature's Bounty, right? Turn the big version or small version of a debuff into the big version of a debuff, right? We can now use Kurzad with this blessing as an AoE big version decreased defense on a void affinity 3-turn cooldown. I think he's great. A lot of damage. That increased accuracy is great. The decreased speed on the A1 is fantastic. The turn meter fill, the decreased defense. He's just one of my favorite little rares out there. What about you guys? You think I'm crazy? All the love I give those 2 rare champions? Let me know in the comments below, guys. All right, next up, guys. We have a Dark Elf, an old school champion. We talked about a few new school champions. Let's talk about an old school champion, guys. And I'll tell you what, it's Astralith. Astralith, yes, Astralith. She is very good, very good. If you're a hater, or you're just kind of on the fence on her, or if you have her, she's been sitting in your vault for 2 years, let me try to talk you into her, right? I'm seeing actually a lot of her right now in, I'm around 5,000 live arena right now, and I'm actually seeing quite a bit of her, right? Let's talk about why. A1 ability, Assault Leader. Assault Leader is very important because it's also attached to her A3. Her A3 is going to attack with the default skill, aka the A1 again, okay? So she's using it on 2 abilities, her basic attack and then her active ability A3. Assault Leader attacks 1 enemy. It fills a turn meter of a random ally by 15%, but it turns fills a turn meter. It turns the fill meter of all allies by 15% if the attack is critical. That's a nice juicy turn meter increase from, an A1 ability, right? And she's going to be using it twice again on the A3 and the A1 ability. She also brings speed to arena battles by 28%. So most people build her super, super fast. You don't need any accuracy on Astralith. Part of what makes her amazing. On the A2, Heart Rot. Attacks 1 enemy, places 2 bomb debuffs that detonate after 1 turn. This cannot be resisted. So she is the ultimate stone skin killer. You go in there and you pop off either their cleanser, so they can't cleanse, they just die, or their reviver, whoever it is. Obviously, she's Spirit Affinity. You can pop off a UDK. Two things to note about this ability, or a few things to note. Number one is great against Stone Skin. Number two is her bombs do a lot of damage. All bombs are not created equal in this game. 2 bombs from Astralith is usually enough. You scale her attack high enough, obviously. You don't have to go crazy, though. Usually enough to kill somebody. And then the third thing is obviously what we're looking at on bombs is a 1-turn detonation, right? 2 turns is oftentimes too long, can be cleansed or getting rid of or whatever. So really good ability. Just pop somebody off right out the gate. And then Judgment. Exchanges remaining HP levels with a target enemy, then attacks them with a default skill. Cannot be used against a boss. So this is great too. First of all, kind of like Nogdar's HP exchange, does not require accuracy. Usually you read an ability like this and you think, okay, I'm going to need accuracy for this at least, maybe not for this. No, the HP exchange abilities do not require accuracy for whatever reason. So we don't need that either. And what I like to do in terms of Astralith, you're probably sitting on Swift Parry gear because nobody uses it anymore for the most part, right? It's really, at one point in time, it was like sought after. Now, not really. But she's really good in Swift Parry. You get a 50% chance of an unkillable, right? And then she basically, with unkillable, she'll have 1 HP, right? So when you exchange HP levels with a target enemy, you're also attacking them on the same ability, right? With the default skill. So not only do you get turn meter increase, but you kill them because she has 1 HP, right? So really good in the Swift Parry for that reason. Also, on a 5-turn cooldown, gains an extra turn and decreases the cooldown of this skill by 3 turns, down to 2 basically, if this champion's turn meter drops below 20% when attacked. It's beautiful synergy there, and again, it goes in with a Swift Parry. Getting an extra turn, getting a turn, basically, when her HP drops below 20% is fantastic, because then we can go right in there and activate the Judgment, right, and kill him. I really like Astralith. I spent a lot of time talking about her, but she has a kit that, to me at least, there's more than meets the eye there, right? By the way, Vizier, 3 times, 50%, duration of all buffs. The Owl totally power crept him. All right. Moving on, we have 2 more to talk about, right? 2 champions that you've likely heard of. I want to give a quick honorable to Gottfried Brassclad. This guy, I was kind of up on him, then I was kind of down on him, and now I'm kind of up on him. Just a little honorable mention. I love this pass. He has an AoE stun on 3-turn cooldown. It's got to increase defense. But whenever an ally is attacked by a block, well, let's read this part first. If an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, blocks incoming damage and places a block damage buff on them for 1 turn. Really strong. Whenever an ally is about to is attacked under that block damage placed by this champion, has a 100% chance when booked of placing a stun on the attacker. So this guy's all about being tanky, bringing increased defense, and dropping loads of stuns, right? Might as well just make it 11 champions and add them to the list. Tormin the Cold. All right, a champion that everybody's heard of, a champion that had his day in the sun as, you know, one of the most popular meta champions in the game for really a year plus, maybe 2 years on Tormin, right? But I actually think that it's not even the hate. I mean, people still like and recognize Tormin, but he's a champion that I find myself using a lot. I love live arena. I know a lot of you guys probably don't, but just in the arena in general, there's so many, and anywhere in general, frankly. 2 ways I love to use this guy. First of all, I put him in Stone Skin, and I just put him with high accuracy and build him as a nuker, right? Crit rate, crit damage, and just use him alongside, you know, an increased defense champion like a Siphi or whatever, whoever you have, as a nuker with the increased defense to boost up his damage as his defense-based damage, and just that freeze is great. Now, I only use them in those situations when I'm going against a speed team, a lot of turn meter increasers, Arbiter teams, right? Lysandra teams, Shuzen the Valorous, those type of teams, I use Tormin a lot. He has an AoE provoke, which is really nice. The thing you have to be careful of, obviously, on Tormin is polymorph, but I think that most players can get by still using Tormin unless you're, you know, tippity top of live arena without really having to stress a ton about him constantly being sheeped. The other way I love using Tormin is with a burner. There's just a lot more burners than there used to be in the game nowadays, right? So there's a lot of more natural synergies than there used to exist with Tormin. Instantly activates his A1, which is an AoE attack with freeze, right? 25% chance. Instantly activates a skill whenever an enemy under freeze and HP burn debuff take damage from the burn. And there's no cooldown on this ability. So if you put him with a burner, right, he can just absolutely go nuts, right? It's really fun to see. It's fun to use. It can be fun in Spider. It can be fun anywhere, honestly. Wave content, because he's freezing everybody. More burns, more freeze. I just think that Tormin is great, especially if you're an arena player and you're sick of being outsped by, you know, whatever, Arbiter teams, Armon's teams, whatever you're going against, right? Tormin is, I think he's really good right now. I think he's really good. All right. Last but not least is a champion that I know a lot of you guys already love, right? This is YST's guy, right? But he's grown on me a lot, and it's Genzin. And again, I know I'm picking, some of these champions weren't a far reach on like, oh, underrated, but I still think they're underrated even though, you know, they're widely considered to be pretty good. You know, I think they're great, some of these champions, and Genzin definitely falls in that category. I didn't really develop a true love for Genzin until I started using him on my Fire Knight team. Oh my gosh, not just Fire Knight, but a triple hitter on the A1. The thing about Genzin there, two things. Number one is, a lot more damage than you're probably expecting, right? Number two is so many turns, right? You read his kit and you see it, you read it, but it's another thing to experience it, really, you know? Each hit fills his champion's turn meter by 6%. So that's 18% turn meter filled just off his A1 ability. On the A2, attacks all enemies, 3-turn cooldown, big version, decreased defense. Each critical hit fills his champion's turn meter by 10%. So that could be a 50% turn meter fill against the wave content, right? On the A3, Fated Vengeance, 3-turn cooldown again. Attacks one enemy, ignores unkillable, ignores shields. Fills his champion's turn meter by 30% again. Fills his champion's turn meter by 60% instead if the target has 50% HP or less after the attack, which is usually the case against non-bosses because he hits so dang hard. Also decreases the cooldown of Steel Parting and Fated Vengeance, aka the only two active abilities, by 1 turn if the attack happens to kill an enemy. So if we kill somebody, well, they're obviously going to have less than 50% HP after the attack. So we're going to get a 60% turn meter fill. We're going to get a cooldown decrease of the AoE with another turn meter fill. I mean, just think about the potential here. Also, Bushido, this is a great passive that is almost always in effect. This effect always works when fighting bosses, right? Increases champion speed by 10 and resist by 50 if the number of champions on this champion's team is equal to or lower than the number of enemies on the enemy team. Well, that's almost always the case because the only time it wouldn't be the case is when we're fighting bosses. But it says right here, it always works when fighting bosses. So now we've got an extra speed built in. So essentially, in most scenarios, it's almost like he has 110 base speed and he has an 80 base resistance, right? Genzin is a lot better than I feel like a lot of people give him credit for. He's not just your average AoE debuffer. He's a lot of damage in a lot of turns. So guys, there it is. Those are my 10 champions, or 11 if you consider the bonus, that I think are just so underrated in this game that I obviously love. What about you guys? Obviously, there's dozens and dozens of other champions that could have made this list. Who is one of your favorite, most underrated champions in the game? Let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a guide on them or include them on my next list as we put Kurzad and Treeshield into the retirement home with Tagore, guys. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.